Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Savannah Marshall is back talking about the fight coming up with her and Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields has been in the media lately saying that Savannah Marshall is afraid of her, she's a coward, she doesn't want to fight, how Savannah Marshall isn't showing up to press conferences. There's a breakdown in communication all from Savannah Marshall's side because she knows she's going to get clipped by the GOAT. Claressa Shields has even had a few other choice words and selective adjectives to describe Savannah Marshall. Now, the thing is this, people. These are the facts. Savannah Marshall had to go in for surgery. And Savannah Marshall insists that Claressa Shields, and I agree with this, should not want to fight her unless Savannah Marshall's at her full fitness. And that's true. With going in for an undisputed distinction fight, you shouldn't want to get in there and fight somebody who's not 100% healthy. You should want them at their best so there are no excuses, right? Now, we know there have been a war of words between the rivals after their undisputed middleweight clash, especially after it was delayed by Savannah Marshall. But now she's coming and explaining what the reason is. Now, this thing is going to be a mega fight between the WBA, WBC, IBF, and the WBO champions. Now, Shields has 3 of the belts, with Marshall having 1. Now, recently, Marshall had a fight where she knocked out her opponent with a big left hook. And many people feel that Savannah Marshall is the harder puncher of the 2, and they're not really giving Shields much of a chance to go the distance. Shields is being awarded credit for her outstanding boxing ability. I personally think that if Shields, because Shields always boxes wonderful, but I think at some point, because at some point she's going to stand and want to exchange to prove that she's the bigger puncher. And I just think that's where we're going to have mistakes. But at the same time, got to ask the question. Now that Savannah Marshall is undergoing this arm surgery, we gotta wonder, is that going to affect her ability to hit as hard as she's been able to hit? Is she going to be prone to post-surgery injuries if she doesn't take the necessary time to recover? Now, Savannah Marshall is saying 4 to 5 weeks. Some say it's a hand surgery. She's saying it's an arm surgery. I can tell you from having, rotator cuff surgery on the right shoulder and on the left shoulder and having a bicep tendon reattached. I don't know the extent of what Savannah Marshall's going through, but let me tell you this right now. That's no damn 4 to 5 week delay, not even a 4 to 5 month delay. That's a whole year. That's a very, violent operation on your body. Like, that's rough, man. The physical therapy alone on that it could run you a year. And that's if you don't have any hiccups, no scar tissue adhesion and different things that develop. So I don't know what's going to happen, but one thing I want to make sure, I'm not a doctor, but I've been through a couple surgeries. And I know for a fact, I want to make sure that they're doing what they need to over there in Savannah Marshall's camp, not to rush the fight. If Shields has to fight a different opponent, it's okay. Don't worry about the pressure. Don't worry about all the talk. Do what's best for your fighter, because I would hate to see Savannah Marshall get in there and, re-injure herself, because she's not healed properly, or be in there and all of a sudden start feeling extreme discomfort, and the fight doc gets wind that something's wrong with her, comes, looks, range of motion, can you do this and that, and she can't, they stop the fight. What a way to lose your title. That's why I say, man, anyone can become a champion. I'm not saying that's the case with Shields and Marshall. They're both, beyond elite. But these are things that can happen. And this is how people who aren't elite, who just get to a title contention, end up getting in position. So for these two who are seasoned professionals, outstanding fighters, let's not, force anything. Let Savannah heal. If Claressa someone needs to give her a chill pill and tell her to take it down a notch, then let's do that. And let's get to the finish line to see this fight happen. But I'm just not sure. When you tell me you had arm surgery and hand surgery, that's 2 different surgeries, man. But once you're talking about surgery, I just don't see how we can talk about pushing something back, 4 or 5 weeks. Like, I don't know. But then again, I'm no doctor, and I don't know the extent of what Savannah Marshall is going to endure surgery-wise. But when it comes to Shields, she lives on Twitter. She lives on social media. She's been frustrated. She's had a lot to say. And Savannah Marshall isn't really going for that. She's like, we just need to get in here and be healthy. She's gone on to talk about Claressa Shields, talking about she's tweeting that the fight's not happening, and she's looking at other opponents. And she's like, a 4 or 5 week pushback. Why look for other opponents? And I don't think that's the case. I just think Claressa Shields is just like, hey, if you're going to sit here, man, and want to delay me, I have other options. And, maybe she will pull the trigger and fight somebody else, but I doubt it. But 5 weeks, in my opinion, is hardly a gap of time for a fight not happening for you to just leapfrog that opponent and go on to somebody else. I just don't think it's worth it when you're looking at the magnitude and size of the Claressa Shields, Savannah Marshall, undisputed distinction fight at 100 and what did they fight at 154, man? Yeah, I think that's a pretty. I don't think she should just walk away from that. But it's all about who really wants to fight, and it sounds like they both do. And I think they're going to get it across the finishing line. But very glad to see that Marshall is out there explaining. It's just kind of unfortunate. She's been pushing her body hard. She had a hard fight in her recent outing, and she just has some things she needs to fix going to a fight with Claressa Shields. And that tells me that she knows the surgery that she had on her arm or is going to have on her arm, that she's taking Claressa Shields serious and wants to make sure she's 100%. You always hear about the fighters who've gone into fights with injuries. And immediately after the fight, whether they win or lose, they immediately go into surgery, something they should have done to repair the problem before they got into such a high-profile fight with such a vicious opponent. So I'm glad to see that Savannah Marshall is taking the necessary precautions to give herself the best chance on winning. Now, she has a lot of fans, I can tell you that, who feel that there's no way in the world she'll lose to Claressa Shields. But we just got to be fair. I'm going with Claressa Shields if she can fight the perfect fight for the duration of the fight. But then I'm looking at Savannah Marshall and giving her the edge, because I think at some point, and I think I started this thought early in the video, I just didn't finish it. I think at some point, Claressa Shields, like some other fighters, like Devin Haney is one, feel that they have a point they need to prove. Amir Khan was another one. People saying that they're chinny or they don't have power. And whether they say you're chinny or they say you don't have power, it makes a person want to stand there and exchange to try to get their shots off or to take shots to try to please fans who criticize and ridicule them. That's where I think Claressa Shields is going to run into some huge problems if she stands there too long trying to exchange with Marshall, especially if she doesn't have the power to discourage Marshall and blunt Marshall's offense. If Marshall lands a clean shot on Shields, from what it looks like in the footage that I've been watching, I've watched about 7 videos on Marshall. I've been watching all the Claressa Shields fights since she turned pro. If Shields can't discourage Savannah Marshall, Shields may have an uphill battle on her hands, because Savannah Marshall, she can fight, and she's not going to take a step backwards unless you force her. Now, Shields has everything it takes to win that fight. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. But I just don't think, I think this is one of those fights where it's like, just win. Get in there and win. Don't worry about looking good and trying to showboat and do all this fancy stuff. That's when mistakes happen. Remain disciplined. Because one thing we know for sure is Savannah Marshall is going to remain disciplined. She's going to remain disciplined the duration of the fight. And Peter Fury is right there in her corner, and he's going to make sure of that. And the whole time when things are happening, he's going to be downloading data and just figuring out what the next move to be. He's going to be trying to counter everything that Claressa Shields' team is doing and the guidance that they're imparting to her as she gets into the ring round after round. So I just think that the fight being pushed back from July is a good thing to make sure we have a healthy fight, two healthy fighters. We have a solid fight, and they're both 100%, because that's what we need going into another undisputed distinction female bout, especially after coming off of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Like, this should top that, because that's the kind of firepower that both of these women have, the kind of engines that they both have, and the build up to this fight, I think, is just going to be, amazing. But I hate to see us, get into the first and second round, someone's injured, and that just kind of deflates that balloon of excitement that we're all kind of, following. But just a couple things for you guys. So when it comes to Savannah Marshall, she became a world champion in 2020 by beating Hannah Rankin. And when it comes to Claressa Shields feels like that's nothing. It doesn't compare to what Claressa Shields has done. Undisputed in 2 different weight classes, 2-time gold medalist, MMA fighter. She just feels that, when they start talking about Savannah Marshall, it's just like very offensive to Claressa Shields because of everything that she's done. And we got to be real, she's done a lot. She's done a lot. Claressa Shields has done a lot. You got to give it to her. But we're going to see what happens when she gets in with Savannah Marshall. And the thing that a lot of people keep holding on to, and Savannah Marshall, she doesn't even really bring it up anymore. It's just the media that keeps bringing it up. Is that the only loss of Shields' career at both professional and amateur level came against Marshall in 2012. And Savannah Marshall likes to remind Claressa Shields of it every now and then, but it's only if Claressa Shields keeps poking at her, then Savannah Marshall will kind of lash out. But that's not really Savannah Marshall's thing. But it seems like she's human. She gets tired of the BS, especially the social media bullying that takes place. So you poke the bear, you're gonna wake the bear up. But it is what it is. So the fights look like it's gonna be on in September. Let's hope that Savannah Marshall doesn't have any more issues that could delay the fight. Let's hope with Claressa Shields working as hard as she is, that she doesn't go out there and injure herself and end up creating an additional delay. And we just need to see them get to September so we can watch a good match right before the holidays. That being said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you're still hanging around, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You guys take care, keep safe, and as always, I'm in the breeze.